Hi, John Denovan here from Gadens Lawyers. The challenge today is to answer all your tricky questions about the PPSA, the Personal Property Security Act. Ready, set, go. How could you possibly suggest that there'd be any business that doesn't know about the PPSR? Yes, I mean, it's every barbecue you go to, they're talking about it. No, seriously, of course, I would think that a good 80% of businesses have done nothing much about the PPSR. Do they need to? Well, of course, if you went to a lawyer, they say, oh, well, yes, most definitely they should be doing something. You can go from the overkill to a reasonable action. Certainly, business awareness is poor. The government, I think, did a pretty good job at trying to inform them. If you feel that you'd like to assist a customer become more aware of the PPSA, then the MFAA on the website has a terrific little module that outlines how the whole thing works. That'll be updated from time to time, and you might like to download that and give it to somebody rather than trying to embark on an explanation of the PPSA yourself. Just think this through. What the government actually said was that now a hirer can claim an input tax credit for all the hire charges at the date of commencement of the hire purchase agreement. There's no change to the lessor's position. The lessor still has to pay GST on the date the hire purchase agreement is entered into. So actually here there's an advantage for the hirer. They can claim the input tax credit up front, so long as they're registered for GST. So a hire purchase agreement now is very much like a loan secured by a chattel mortgage. Why are financiers moving away from hire purchase agreements to loans? Probably because it's an easier concept to understand. A loan agreement with a charge. You don't have to worry about things like, oh, will there be an option? Will the option to purchase be exercised at the end of the hire purchase period? I think it's just a commercial decision by the banks, but they remain two distinct ways of documenting a terms purchase, if you like to call that. Of course, they're not actually terms purchases. One is a hiring of goods with an option to purchase at the end, at any time during the term and at the end of the term. And the other one is where the customer buys the goods and then mortgages them to the financier to secure a loan. I said the word mortgage. Don't be scared of the word mortgage. Although there are new fancy terms in relation to the PPSA, like security interest and collateral and all those other sort of American sounding words, you don't have to use them. It's fine still to talk about a mortgage. I will mortgage my house. I will mortgage my car or charge my car. Security interest is just a generic term. It's the term used in the Act to cover all types of pledging, if you like, of encumbering personal property. What's changed for chattel mortgage deals, and why are some financiers moving towards fixed and floating charges and some are moving away? It's not actually any particular legal reason behind this. I think that the creation of the PPSA caused most financiers, if not all financiers, to undertake a pretty serious rethink about the way they do business. And if you're going to take a separate security interest each time you lease a good or take a charge over goods, then that's a lot of paper. So maybe it's easy to take a fixed and floating charge. Now, a fixed and floating charge generally nowadays will be called a GSA, or a General Security Agreement. So by taking a General Security Agreement, it's like the old fixed and floating charge. It has some differences, but for all practical purposes, it's the same. And by having this one single document, I can now put the documentation issues to one side and go ahead and just register security interests as I need to pursuant to that document. I suppose the other reason that might see a move away from individual charges to taking a general security agreement is that now, except in New South Wales, there's no mortgage duty. And because there's no mortgage duty, there's no problem about bundling your security documentation into a single document. Hire companies come in all different shapes and sizes, and the equipment which they hire come in all different shapes and sizes. And there's some reasonably complex rules about when a security interest under the PPSA arises. So let's just stop for a moment and understand what we're talking about here. When an owner of goods, the hire company, parts with possession and gives the goods to somebody else, because that somebody else has possession, there's immediately a risk that that person might get better title than the owner of the goods. That's the big change of the PPSA. The PPSA generally provides that if the lease is longer than 3 months, then you need to register the security interest or you might miss out. Now there are some exceptions to that rule for consumers, i.e. when the hirer is a consumer. So if I go and hire a car from Avis for 6 months, Avis doesn't have to go and register a security interest. But if I, in my company, went and hired the car from Avis, Avis would think about registering the security interest. We come here to another very important point. Not all security interests are registered. When thinking about whether to register a security interest, a very important consideration is the commercial need to do so. If you were lending to Woolworths, would you bother registering a security interest? Probably not. If you were leasing to Qantas a jumbo jet, would you register a security interest? Well, you might, because of the size and value of that asset. But just because a security interest is created, just because there is a leasing, there is no obligation to go and create and register a security interest. So there's that commercial decision. Once you get past that commercial decision hump, generally, if you're parting with possession more than 3 months, that's the time to start thinking about registering a security interest on the wonderful Personal Property Securities Register. And you know that can be fun. Well, that's it. And if you have other questions that we haven't answered today, the MFAA does provide an inquiry service that you can contact. They again don't provide legal advice, but can point you in the correct direction. So if you're feeling pretty flummoxed, whack an email in or ring up and the friendly staff at the MFAA will do their best to help.